Okay. Good morning, everyone. For my presentation, I will be mainly sharing to you what we are doing at the Vargas Museum of the University of the Philippines. Now, to introduce our institution briefly, we are an art museum and a university museum as well. So my presentation will be dealing with intangible heritage in the context of an art museum, which is primarily dedicated to the preservation, promotion, and dissemination of tangible heritage. Okay, now just a brief introduction about our institution. The museum was named after this man, Jorge Vargas, who was a very prominent Filipino lawyer, statesman, sportsman, and diplomat. And he was the first executive secretary of the Philippines who held very important positions in the government during the American colonial period and the Japanese occupation as well. Now, Mr. Vargas was an avid collector of different objects, from artworks to memorabilia to other curiosities, from keychains to matchboxes, all those sorts of things. Now, his collection used to be kept in a private museum inside his estate. And then in 1978, he donated major part of his collection to his alma mater, the University of the Philippines, thus giving rise to what is known today as the Vargas Museum. Okay, so this is the Vargas Museum located inside the campus of the university. It's a 3-story structure with a basement. Now, on the second floor of that museum is the permanent collection. Now, the permanent collection mainly consists of artworks from the Spanish colonial period, so about late 19th century to about 1960s. So that's the core collection of Jorge Vargas, which he donated to his university. Okay, now it officially opened to the public in 1987, and towards its 25th year anniversary, the museum underwent into some sort of a repackaging or reinvention of its institutional identity. Now, this is marked by a more conscious, by an awareness of its role as a university museum, meaning the museum envisioned itself to be the center of academic endeavors in the university. And part of this awareness is the bolstering and upgrade in its educational role, of course, along with upgrades in its infrastructure. And also, the new curator envisioned a more contemporary spirit for the museum. So he envisioned to encourage more experimental, exploratory, and interdisciplinary projects, which allowed us to incorporate intangible heritage more firmly into the museum's programming. So I will be discussing 3 exhibitions which represent this trajectory that the museum is heading towards its 25th year anniversary. Okay. Now, as early as 2009, the museum has already shown tendencies to shift from more collaboration with intangible heritage when it opened this huge textile exhibition titled Woven Templates. So the entire 3rd floor of the museum was filled with textiles from different weaving centers in the Philippines. And you can see here the diversity of the textile tradition in the Philippine Islands. Okay, now what you're seeing in the image is a textile map, Philippine textile map, enumerating about 26 weaving centers in the Philippines, with each weaving center having at least 2 weaving community. And then you have there, to put the different textile into context, you have a mannequin wearing the traditional costume of the Ifugao from northern Philippines. Okay, now what's significant about the exhibition is the incorporation of different traditions related to textile production in the Philippines. For example, in this image, 2 women from the Tiboli, an ethno-linguistic group from southern Philippines, performed a ritual associated with textile production. So from the ground floor of the museum, they made all the way up to the third floor. And this also served as a sort of performance during the exhibition opening. Okay. Now, one of the highlights of the exhibition is the installation of two weaving implements, the pedal loom and the backstrap loom on the third floor. And this effectively demonstrated how the textiles are produced in the museum context. So these two women belong to different weaving centers, one from the north and the other one from southern Philippines. Okay. Now the demonstration was also interactive in that it allowed the viewers or those who attended the exhibition opening to actually try weaving using the pedal loom and the backstrap loom. So for example, in this image, you can see a Tiboli woman demonstrating the complex weaving technique of the tinanak, a textile produced by the Tiboli from southern Philippines. Okay. Now, seeing all these images of different textiles where you can see figures, human figures, figures from nature being abstracted, it offered a sort of conversation to the permanent collection. Now, I will be showing you images from the permanent collection of the museum representing modern art in the Philippines. So during this time, movements associated with modernism were already entering the Philippines. So for example, Cubism, Expressionism, Surrealism. But seeing the images of textiles in which abstraction, geometric simplification, all of these are considered as hallmarks of modern art, you can see them embedded in the textile production. So it invites the viewers to reflect more on that divide between modernity and tradition. Okay. Now, on the second floor, as I mentioned earlier, where we keep the permanent collection of the gallery, most viewers are surprised to see this opening or a door leading to an unexpected artwork towards the end of the main gallery. Now, if you happen to pick through the open door, you would be stumbling upon this artwork. Okay, now what you're seeing is actually a restroom. Where you can see different things scattered all over the place. So here are some images. So these are one of the, I would call experimental exhibitions that we've had in the museum. So it's an installation in found architecture at the same time. So there you have the water closet, and then you have there a wooden pestle. And then you have there leaves, dried leaves scattered all over the floor of the restroom. And then another image. Now that particular artwork is titled The Saliva of an Ifugao as an Artist. Now Ifugao is one of the ethno-linguistic groups in northern Philippines in the Cordillera region by artist Gaston Damag. Okay. Now that particular artwork was conceived upon the reconfiguration of the main gallery of the museum. Now, in this reconfiguration, since the museum is not actively acquiring artworks because we wanted to preserve the character or the identity of the original collection of Vargas, how it is implicated in the formation, in the formative years of the Filipino nation, from the Spanish period up to about 1960s, we're not actively acquiring artworks. Now that that particular vision has a limitation of making the collection somewhat static. Now, in order to revitalize the collection, we introduce some contemporary artworks, recently loaned artworks, and commissioned to have a conversation. So it's like the art of the past conversing with the art of the present, or contemporary art making in the Philippines. So the box, the transparent box that you can see here is part of that. Some more images. Okay. Now, here are some close-up images of that artwork by Gaston Damag. Now, seeing the things scattered all over the restroom, you can see here areca nut, lime, and okay. So the entire artwork actually refers to the betel chewing tradition. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the betel chewing tradition, it is a wide spread cultural practice in this particular area of the world, ranging from the Pacific to the extreme right, all the way to the coast of Africa and Madagascar, including the entire Southeast Asia and South Asia. Now, betel chewing in a nutshell basically consists of chewing a mixture, consists of betel leaf, areca nut, and lime. Okay, and then if you chew it, it gives your teeth a kind of reddish and blackish color, and it has it's embedded in the culture of these peoples. It has a symbolic function. It's used in tradition, and it is also referred to in literature and various literature, both in oral tradition, poetry, and folklore. So it is deeply embedded in the cultural practices of these people. Now, in reference to that artwork, okay, just to give you an idea about the works of the artist Gaston Damag, he is appropriating images from his own culture. Now, Gaston Damag is an Ifugao himself, and he is actually based in France. So, drawing from his experiences on how his culture is represented in museums, especially in the West, he observed that his culture, the Ifugao culture, has always been represented as sort of being primitive. So what he's doing in his artwork is he challenges this perception. For example, in this artwork, you can see here the traditional bulul, or the rice granary god, a representation of the rice granary god of the Ifugao. And it is used to be carved in wood. But in his artwork, he made the bulul, he decontextualized the bulul and placed it in this industrial material. And as you can see, the bulul is white and made of not wood but a synthetic material. So therefore, decontextualizing and putting the bulul in a modern setting. So that's basically what he's doing in his artwork. Now, in reference to this artwork, the saliva of an Ifugao as an artist, we can interpret this, although it can be interpreted in a multitude of ways, but in reference to that, we can see that he's actually trying to make a commentary about the clash of tradition and modernity in this particular artwork. The betel chewing tradition has always been represented in popular consciousness as an unsanitary practice. Because by doing betel chewing, you have to spit. It requires constant spitting of the betel weed. So you can see on that part an actual spit, which he did on the tiles of the restroom. Okay. Now in 2011, in the area of the Ifugao in northern Luzon, particularly in the mountain province, Baguio, and Lagawe, betel chewing was prohibited by the government in response to this perception that it's an unhygienic practice. So you can see here the clash between the law and tradition. So this is the situation where Gaston Damag is coming from. And he's trying to make a commentary from that artwork. Okay. The last exhibition that I would like to share to you is Flesh, a collaboration between Sandra Palomar, who now heads the Metropolitan Museum of Manila, and Nolit Soliven. Now, Flesh basically explores the representations of the female body in language, in literature, in film, in photographs as well. So this is the main piece of the exhibition, where you can see this large drawing in which different parts of the female body are cropped. So that huge drawing is suspended from the ceiling of the gallery. And then you have your archival materials dealing with the female body from the museum's collection. And then you have there a nude from the permanent collection of the museum. So the exhibition is basically about explorations of the female body in all those media. Okay, now this used to be the memorabilia room of the museum where we keep the memorabilia collected by Jorge Vargas. Some more images. Now, upon the reinvention of the museum into this new, vibrant, and more contemporary institution, we welcomed more experimental exhibitions in this particular gallery. But the idea is that the exhibition should collaborate with the collection that we have in the archives and library of the museum. So we came up with these sorts of exhibitions. So for example, in this installation, the artist appropriated the trophies and canes found in the memorabilia collection of the museum. Okay. Now, the most important part of the exhibition, Flesh, is this video installation which deals with translation of an endemic Philippine type language, the Manobo, also in southern Philippines. Now, I will be showing to you a video clip. That video. So the title is Interview 001 and Translation Exercise. So the artist collaborated with a man from southern Philippines who happens to speak the Mangyan Manobo dialect. And then this man relocated to Manila. So as you can see, there is no English translation. So the artist is not only interested in translation, but mistranslation as well. Because for example, if you mistranslate a particular language, then you end up generating an entirely different interpretation and meaning. No, it's okay. It's only video, no sound. So if you don't understand the text, according to the artist, that's part of the experience, the incomprehensibility of language, which she is trying to explore in this particular installation. Okay, I'm going to move forward to other parts of the video. Okay. So this is the translation exercise where he translated the titles of nude paintings from the collection, therefore exploring the translation of the female body in one particular language to another. Okay. So just in conclusion, to wrap up the presentation, in the three exhibitions that I have discussed, I have outlined the various ways through which the incorporation of intangible heritage in the context of an art museum can be a potent strategy to generate more meaning from an otherwise static and bounded collection. And it opens up dialogue and discourse which characterizes a dynamic institution that can respond to the fast-changing world but at the same time still be able to look back and reflect on lessons from the recent and distant past. Thank you.